Yeah, I do. You know, the coaching profession obviously is a very, very small fraternity, and you know, our paths have crossed in many ways. So there's a number of individuals in the SEC that I've known and have formulated, you know, relationships over a period of time.
Who's an example of somebody maybe you know best? Is your head coach you know better than the other?
Well, I think, you know, there's different levels of relationships, but, you know, I've known Coach Miles for a while, and actually, gosh, I'm losing track of time. I want to say in 2005 or 2006, I actually went to LSU and we talked football and did some things on client. We went there, obviously, Brett Bielema. I've known him for a while. And, you know, so James Franklin, you know, I've known him. Obviously, when we competed against Vanderbilt in the Liberty Bowl, you know, you do so many things with coaching staffs and bowl events. So that's just a few. But we all, like I said, it's a very small profession.
Do you feel like going through this as much recruiting as you've done already? Do you see something feel different being in the SEC now? Is there a difference about recruiting in the SEC than wherever else you've been?
Yeah, I do. I do think the SEC is different in all facets, in all regards, and I think that's what makes it the best football conference in the country. You know, I think the magnitude, everything is highlighted from your passionate fan bases. You know, our fans are very knowledgeable. Everyone wants to know and you know. Everyone follows recruiting. You know, you're competing against the best of the best in the country. You know, if a young man wants to be the best, why would he not want to play in the SEC? You know, and everything that it brings. So I do. I think that everything is accelerated, to say the least. You know, everyone asks me, what's the difference of being in the SEC? And I said, probably the best analogy I can give you is every day it's 4th and 1 for the national championship. It doesn't matter if it's recruiting, if it's practice, if it's caravans, it doesn't matter. Everything's at an all-time level.
What's it like to try to rebuild in that environment, where even if you can straighten out everything at Tennessee, you've got so many other teams out there?
Well, I think that's what makes it challenging of really, you know, instilling your program and, you know, getting a program, laying the foundation, and it's going to take time. You know, not only are you trying to turn a program around and win right away, but you're also having to do it in the most competitive conference in the country. So it makes it that much more challenging, but that's why you have to stick to the plan and you can't deviate from your plan. You have to focus on the process each and every day, and, you know, you can't waver. And you have to just put your head down and grind it every day.
As a new coach in this conference, do you have any preference as far as conference scheduling? Should it be 8 games? Should it be 9 games? What's your preference?
Well, you know, right now I'm looking forward to this being, you know, my first SEC meetings, are really going in and hearing kind of the arguments for both, so to speak. You know, is it 8 games? Is it 9 games? So I'm looking forward to being with my peers and kind of hearing the different opinions, and then I'll formulate, you know, my own opinion along with Dave Hart that is best for the University of Tennessee, but not only Tennessee, but for the SEC as well.
Through the last few months, how much have people educated about the Tennessee-Alabama rivalry? People been talking about that a lot, this conference schedule talk.
Sure, you know, that's obviously a rivalry that's very special to our program. And I think that's what makes college football what it is the rivalries, but I think it's what makes the SEC special too is the interconference rivalries as well. But you know, I understand the magnitude of that game and obviously respect everything that Alabama has, but also for us to make it a rivalry game, we need to start winning a few of those games as well.
You've been hearing a lot about the Florida streak as well.
I've heard the Alabama rivalry, I've heard about the Florida streak, and again, that's part of building the program, and believe me, there isn't anybody who's more educated than I am on those rivalries and what those games mean to our programs, but also to our fan base and our alumni and our administration and everyone.
How do you sell that on the road, Butch, when Tennessee has struggled as much as it has recently? How do you sell that on the road that it can come back and compete?
Well, I think it's just selling the vision, you know, and obviously we have proof behind what we've done because we've done it at 2 other stops. And winning is hard, you know, and, you know, we always use a phrase in our program, inches make the champion, and you're really in the SEC, you're competing for those inches each and every day. And, you know, we establish the foundation, and the foundation of any great organization or football program is the players, you know, and it's a unity of purpose, and that's what we're building on. Total full alignment in everything that we're doing, the way our players perform on the field, off the field, in the community. Everything is about being a champion in everything that we do. It's a mindset, and again, it's that unity of purpose. It's a commitment to winning by all involved.
Coach, can you imagine not playing that Tennessee-Alabama game? I mean, that's sort of what's at stake if you change from that permanent rival format to a 6-2 and have a rotating one. Can you imagine not playing Alabama?
Right, but I haven't even had time to think about that. Shoot, I'm worried about Austin P right now and getting all our freshmen on campus. But I understand the magnitude of that rivalry. But like I said, what makes rival games special is we need to get back to the competitive side of things also. They're having competitive, great rivalry games with Alabama.
Butcher, you've been doing so much, many other things, promoting your program, visiting with fans, going through spring practice and recruiting. At this time of year, sometimes do you get kind of antsy? Would you like to just be on the field and coaching in a game?
Well, I am very antsy, and as coaches, you always want to kind of be in control and all that. And these are the times where now, again, you turn your football team over to your seniors and to your leaders on your football team. So I am getting antsy for football. But I'm also excited to get our freshmen back on campus now, have them getting enrolled into 6 hours and really having our football team back on campus working in summer strength and conditioning with Dave Lawson and the entire strength and conditioning staff. And we have a lot of work to do. I mean, we must get stronger as a football team. We have to be in better condition, both mentally and physically. So these summer months are going to be critical in the preparation of Team 117.
With how tough the SEC is, what would be your argument? It seems like a lot of coaches are for 8-game conference schedule. What would be your argument for 9-game, or are you just kind of sitting back and seeing what happens?
Well, I'm going to sit back and kind of see the arguments. But like I said, winning in this conference is extremely challenging. And obviously, you couple a very challenging non-conference schedule, and you look at ours, I think you're going to be hard-pressed to find a more challenging schedule in the country than what we have at Tennessee. And so I think that makes it challenging. But I'm really, I'm looking forward to hearing what my peers have to say, the arguments for it. But I know in this conference, winning is extremely hard.
Brett Bielema said he's got a handful of things coming from a new league that he wants to ask and say, why do we do it this way? Is there anything on your mind in terms of the rules of the SEC that you've got some questions about?
There's a couple things, but, when I look at the itinerary, they're on there. And that's why I said is, I like to sit back, hear everyone's opinions, kind of what they're thinking, then I'll interject when it's appropriate. But, having been in 2 other leagues and kind of seeing different things, but just seeing the vision here, but also the parameters of what we have in this conference and why we do things, I'm looking forward to that.
You have Auburn coming into your stadium obviously this fall. I know you come from different parts of the country, of course, but in your past, have you ever run into Coach Malzahn, at all?
Well, I've known Coach, for a while, but it'll be the first time we've competed against each other. But, I've have some individuals on our staff that have worked with him, and I have some friends in the profession that have also worked with him at different places. And I know he's a great coach, and it's going to be a great challenge with Auburn coming in.
To add to that, you have Willie Martinez and Tommy Fick that came from the Auburn staff before. You have experience at the beginning with the 2 guys from the SEC who were just there last year. Can you add a little bit of context as to what those 2 brought to the table, what you saw from them this spring?
Well, they brought a lot, also along with John Jansen, because obviously they've competed in this conference, and they understand what it's all about. They understand, every day, you're working to be the best that you can possibly be. So they've been great resources. But at the end of the day, football's football. It comes down to preparing your team to perform on Saturdays. It's all about recruiting, getting the right people that fit your structure, that fit your program. And let's not lose sight of that. But obviously you have to do that in the most challenging and most difficult conference in the country.
You come in as a new guy. What's your view of Nick Saban?
Well, my view has always been the same. Total respect. We have a lot of similar paths in that, obviously I was at West Virginia. He's from West Virginia. He coached at Michigan State. I was an assistant coach in the state at that time, so I knew what he started to do and lay the foundation there. And everywhere he's been successful. And what he's done there is remarkable. It's really amazing what he's done there. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for him.
If you had a chance to look at a bunch of other SEC opponents, just watch video of them.
I have. That's it's a balancing act at this time of the year, obviously, with going around. But the thing you can never lose sight of is trying to prepare your football team each and every day. So. I have video in my basement. I may get home at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. I'll try to go down there and maybe watch a quarter of a game, or even go back and watch spring practice. But again, just trying to, continue to give us the best advantage, the best things that we can do to win at Tennessee.
Coach, do you have any parameter on how young a player or how old a player needs to be in high school before you'll offer him a scholarship, 10th grade,
Do you have any?
No, we don't. You know, obviously a lot is obviously, you know, can he be a player that has the character that you want in the program? You know, the academic workload. You know, does he have the work ethic to perform at a high level academically, and then obviously a skill set. You know, we have a very stringent and strict recruiting profile, both on and off the field, and if he matches those, and now today with the acceleration of recruitment, a lot of it is projection.
Physically, what is that profile? What are the things that you physically are looking for? You say
Well,
you've got a very strict.
Yeah, it's by position. You know, sometimes it's the obviously the height, the weight, the arm length, the size of the hand, and you know, you can go in and you can have all these measurables you want, but at the end of the day, you can't measure heart. And again, I keep saying it, and I'll continue to say it. I think the greatest illustration in recruiting is Eric Fisher. You know, Eric Fisher was a young man that we recruited at Central Michigan. He was a 48th ranked player, not in the country, but in the state of Michigan, and now he's the #1 overall pick in the National Football League draft. And I think it's a tribute to the coaching staff there of developing him. But it, you know, the one thing that's really hard to measure is the growth, the human development process. You know, and they're like raising your kids. Some individuals develop at a different time frame than others. But I think that's a great illustration. We don't get caught up in the 5-star, the 4-star, the 3-star. We're going to recruit the best fit for the University of Tennessee.
But you do have a physical model you're looking for.
Yeah,
Fisher fits your
by position, and he does. But you know, at that time, everything we talked about offering scholarships, everything is a projection. At that stage of the game, he was 6'5", 6'6", 240 pounds. You know, now I believe he's 310, 320. So also in that projection is, does he have the growth potential, you know, physically, but also the competitive nature, I think, is big. I think that's the thing that's lost, is a lot of times we get caught up, you know, in the measurables, but what type of competitive spirit does a young man have? What type of competitive, you know, background does he want to be the best? I think those are the things that, you know, when you look at quote-unquote recruiting mistakes, or, you know, the way individuals don't turn out, I think the most common element is the competitive nature of the young man. You look at our last year's team when we left Central Michigan, 5 individuals started in the National Football League, and most of them were free agents. You look at Antonio Brown of the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, he came out when we left Central Michigan, and he was drafted in the 6th round, and now he's one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League. Well, I will tell you this, I have never met a young man who's more competitive of the inner drive to be the best than Antonio Brown. And those are the things that we spend as much time on that as the measurables, but those are also the most challenging to really find out.
How long have you been looking at measurables? Is that a new thing in recruiting?
No.
That's been since you've been in the business, you've been looking at
With the way information gets out now, are you more careful with what you say at the Booster Club meetings than you maybe were 5-10 years ago or something like that? Because it seems like it's been a couple things that popped up here in the last.
Absolutely. You know, there's no secrets. You know, it's the same thing I tell our football team. You know, anytime, you know, you're outside or anywhere, you know, everyone has a cell phone. You know, everything that you do is being watched and being recorded. So, yeah, you have to always be cognizant of the fact, you know, of what you say. And, you know, the Caravans for us has been outstanding because it's a chance to really sell our program, but to intermingle with our fan base, which I feel is the most passionate fan base in the country.
And your assistant coaches do a lot of speaking like that too. You tell them to,
you know, the great thing is we go through media training, and now, you know, you look at the SEC network coming in. I think that just is going to elevate this conference even that much more. But also for us, you know, all the in-house videos now, all the things from a production aspect that are going to have to be produced on campus. That's why, you know, we've been looking at for 18 months of adding a TV studio on the first floor of our Brendan Lawson Center, and now that has to be expedited, obviously, because of obviously the SEC network, you know, and upgrades, you know, in our technology. But also, I think that's also a way to continue to educate and train your players to how to manage those situations.
Is that microscope effect bigger in this league? Have you noticed?
Absolutely. You know, everything's a story. You know, everything is, you know, everything has great notice around it. And again, that's what separates our league from everyone, is everyone's in the know. Our passionate fan bases, it's important. Like I said, in the SEC, there are no off seasons in football. There's just different nuances to the football season, but every day is football season in the SEC.
Coach, your last up, your message from the get-go was represent the C. Do you have a similar moniker at Tennessee? And if not, why not with that kind of rebranding or purpose?
Well, we have so many strong traditions in place at Tennessee, and quite simply, we're Tennessee, and that's what we're talking about. Is we're Tennessee, and you look at the traditions that we have. You look at the success. You know, you look at the great former players, and so Tennessee is a national brand. We don't need to brand it. We have our branding already in place. It's more of an educational process with our current team.
That's what that question about a player. You recruited, that's in relation to Kyle Kemp. What type of quarterback is Oregon State getting? Because obviously you must know pretty well.
Well, Cody Kemp, his brother, is our graduate assistant on offense, and I will tell you, it's first-class family. You know, when you look at the quarterback intangibles, you know, he has it stemming from his father, from his brother, you know, first class all the way, students in the game, so great, tremendous people, and a very competitive family.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.